I have a question about Vampire Hunter D, as someone who's never seen Vampire Hunter D.
It's good. Watch it.
My question is, I have always assumed that the D in Vampire Hunter D stood for Dracula, and the show is about Dracula hunting other vampires. Is that correct?
No.
You're confusing it with the game D.
The main character's name is D.
And it's not short for nothing?
It's not. It's short for something, but it's not short for Dracula.
Yeah.
It's kind of short for something.
Are we supposed to think it's short for Dracula?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think you're supposed to look at the art and appreciate the overwhelming freshness of it, because it's just very fresh and beautiful looking.
Yeah, that Speed Racer art.
What happened to Vampire Hunters A through C? That's what I want to know.
They're dead.
Arc System works. I sure hope it does. This is episode 268 of Insert Credit, a relentless smorgasbord of hard-hitting, thought-provoking video game topics prompted every week to the smartest people I know, aided now and as ever by a horrible buzzer. I'm Alex Jaffe, and one of my favorite interactions with a fellow video game enjoyer from the past year was meeting comic artist and Insert Credit listener Robert Wilson IV at New York Comic Con, who gifted me with an original drawing of Papa Neer, which now stands over my dresser.
My name is Frank Cifaldi, and my favorite interaction with game enjoyers this year was every episode of the Insert Credit show.
Oh, thanks, Frank.
Delightful.
I'm Tim Rogers, and my favorite interaction with a video game enjoying person. I mean, I haven't really been outside this year.
Same, which is why I got the easy answer there, baby.
I'm assuming we mean like people that are new. I met a bunch of people that I know from Discord that we didn't really talk about video games at all. We hung out at like a comedy show thing. I mean, does that count? Maybe that counts. I traveled overseas to multiple countries this year. Which ones? That's Nunya.
Follow the clues.
That's Nunya business. Went to a whole bunch of places. However, I mean, I didn't really do any video game enjoying in those places. It was all related to something else. So that's all I know. Thank you. I can
welcome.
press the thank you button. Hold on.
Thank you.
There you go. There it was. That's the button.
I'm Brandon Sheffield. My favorite interaction with a video game enjoyer was, let's see, when I was in Nakano this year and hung out with a fellow named Paul, and we were trying to go to my favorite bar establishment, which is the 80s J-pop bar, where they'll play whatever 80s J-pop you can write down on a piece of paper, and if they can find it on YouTube with a live version, they'll play it. Anyway, that was closed for a private party, and so we had to find another place, and we were walking down the street just looking for somewhere to go, and as I was walking, I made eye contact with a cat that was inside of a bar, and it was just sitting on the bar looking outside, making eye contact with potential customers, and I was like, well, I guess we have to go there. And then we hung out with that cat in that place. And that was my favorite.
What are that cat's favorite video games?
Well, there was like a Lupin the Third and also like a Devilman drawing up on the wall. And I don't know if there are any Devilman games, but there's a Lupin one, so maybe some sort of a Lupin.
I'll allow it. Before I begin with our pre-scheduled programming, Tim, is this the week you're cashing in your host chips?
No.
All right, then we're going to go on with
I said sometime next year is what I said, if you recall.
Okay.
It's not next year yet.
Depends when you're listening to this, but sure, we'll check in next year.
Well, I mean, foremostly, the listener may have a slightly different impression. However, this is a podcast recorded by people at a specific point in time.
That's fair.
This isn't even a case for usage of the cliched expression, for all intents and purposes. For the only purpose, it is not next year right now.
Okay.
Let it be known to the listener. It is not next year yet, as far as this podcast is concerned.
Okay, this is officially our last podcast of 2022.
Yeah, I would say that. I'm not going to... Yeah, let's not talk about 2023 in this podcast, right?
I won't, if you don't.
That year's going to suck.
I keep thinking it's 2023 right now.
We'll find out. Here's my first question. What's your favorite tribute to a video game in another video game?
Interesting.
That's a really good question.
Thanks.
So yeah, tribute kind of gets rid of the Galaga in the loading screen of Namco Museum,
that's a callback, not a tribute.
That's an inclusion of another game in another game.
It's an inception.
The first thing that comes to mind for me, actually, I don't like that much, but it's more like the version that was in my head that wasn't quite executed to my satisfaction was the Dragon Quest tribute in Like a Dragon. Like, I didn't feel like they took it far enough.
Yeah, they did.
Like a Dragon Quest.
Yeah, they should have taken it all the way.
I agree.
I think every game should take a Dragon Quest tribute all the way, if you know what I mean, to be perfectly honest.
I
But
get it.
It's like, it's...
There we go. That was sorry. The button
Thank you.
that got cut off. I don't know what. Yeah.
But, this is a game about a guy, having some real life issues and sort of coming of age with like Dragon Quest as his inspiration. And it just, there's some little callbacks. There's like an enemy that's sort of a metal slime and stuff like that. And sometimes he just kind of imagines himself as a hero in a Dragon Quest game. But it's almost like half that stuff got cut out of the game or something. Like it just feels like it's a not quite executed version of what the intro promised.
A little more depressingly, it feels like maybe it was an idea that was like a throwaway line in the game early on, and then they did a whole bunch of extra work and re-recorded some dialogue and redid a couple of scenes when they got permission to reference it as extensively as they did. Maybe the next one will have even more Dragon Quest. All I'll say is if they turn the Dragon Quest off completely in the next Yakuza game, I will be very upset. I think that's the stance of everyone on this podcast, definitively.
Thank you.
I will be extremely upset if they walk it back. I would be very glad if they crank it even higher. Though keeping it about the same, that's the only, any less than keeping it exactly the same would make me very upset. Any dialing down of the Dragon Quest, not going to take it. I mean, I'll still play the game and it'll probably be real good, but you know
No
what
place
I mean.
to go but up.
Did we say reference? Is it reference?
I said tribute.
Tribute. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I was thinking about in the PC Engine Populace. I think the second Populace
of course.
in PC Engine. There's a you can play as little Bombermans and the houses are little PC Engines and stuff. But I guess that's more. It's not a tribute per se, is it? I don't know.
I'm going to say I think my favorite tribute of one game and another game, which is also quite recent. This is like the most esoteric possible spoilers for the ending of Death Stranding. Death Stranding, as we could call it. Though while I was playing that game for review, for my Kotaku.com video review that I did, I had a line in there that was like, Death Stranding is Tarkovsky's Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the video game, right? And I thought that was a really good throwaway line. And then, I built on it with a couple extra words. A man of dubious facial hair who sometimes wears a hat with his name on it. Like Sam Porter Bridges can wear a hat that says Porter on it. He wears that acronym clothing that looks very much like what a delivery man would wear in the post-apocalyptic future. He's shorter than the woman Lindsay Wagner that he's rescuing, who also has blonde hair, etc., etc. He's got dubious facial hair. I was like, this is a real good joke. He's fighting ghost monsters, kind of like the subspace world in Super Mario Bros. 2, the Mario Madness. And I was just very pleased with myself for connecting all those things. And I wrote that sentence and I felt, this is good. I just jotted it down in my notes document. And then the goddarn ending of the game straight up acknowledges it. And I thought that was very funny. So the fact that Kojima knowingly made his own Super Mario Bros. Absolute, ridiculous, shriekingly postmodern psychedelic Super Mario Bros. Style video game was very funny. So I think that was just a masterclass in that sort of thing. So that's my contribution there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, if you didn't know that about Death Stranding, I'm very sorry. And go on, put a spoiler warning on that. That was something that was very delightful for me to experience at the end of Death Stranding. So
Yeah, we can put a Death Stranding spoiler in the show notes. The questions are time-stamped.
Death Stranding.
Yeah. Here's my next question. Let's try to categorize every single type of mission in a video game. I'll start us off with kill the guy, get the thing, escape the place.
Okay. Escort missions.
Yep. Escort is one.
Eco's an escort mission. Escort missions are much maligned. They're actually a pretty good template.
Yeah, they can be okay.
It's just nobody ever really does them correctly.
It's usually the AI that's the problem.
I believe I can sum up 90% of missions with get the key.
Yeah, that's get the thing.
Like the key is a MacGuffin of some kind, right? But it's like, go do the thing that unlocks the next thing, right? So if we eliminate that, what's left?
Escort mission is a subset of escape the place. You're just escaping the place with someone else.
Yeah, get to the place on time.
Yep.
It's not necessarily escape the place. It's a timed dealie. That's something.
I think one of my favorite mission types is a large enemy is approaching. That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, escape the enemy.
No, just a large enemy is approaching, kill the enemy, basically.
Yeah, kill the guy.
Or,
That's
survive.
Well, does it have to be kill, or is it just, I mean, it could be run, right?
Deal with the guy.
Run away? Yeah.
Deal with the guy.
Well, there's also grow X things for like farming games and stuff. You objectives can be like make this many of this. I suppose you could extend that to all crafting. Make X number of Y. That's something.
Isn't that retrieve X keys?
Yeah, that's get the thing.
I don't know. It's not get the thing because you may be making it for someone else.
It's still get the thing. It's like, I need these things. Go retrieve those things. And you just have to, like, the way you do it is growing instead of like hitting a guy until he turns into it.
I guess so.
All games are get the key.
They really are.
Well, I mean, they're get the thing, endure, I think is just one. All the survival
endure
games,
is a good one, yeah.
Survival, or growing things in a farm game. Endure, traverse. It covers every racing game. Just boil these down into single words.
Endure, traverse, acquire.
Yeah, I was getting there. Endure, traverse, acquire, exterminate. I don't know. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, the 4 food groups.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I guess keys are food in this analogy, right? So there's different key groups.
I mean, if Pac-Man taught us anything, it's keys are food.
Pac-Man sucks.
Pac-Man didn't teach me anything.
Whatever, Pac-Man's okay.
We did it. We categorized everything.
The 4 video game food groups are... And there you go.
Hey, yeah, you did summarize it in 4 sound effects. That's all of them.
That's good. Okay, I didn't mean
Congratulations.
That was the closest I got to applause on here.
Narratively, what is happening to a video game character when they lose a life?
That's an interesting question.
It's a timeline reset, right?
It's a hallucination.
It was all a dream.
It could be a hallucination, yeah. Like, okay, you know what? I think you're right, because a timeline reset would imply that they did not learn from their actions, right? But we as players have learned why we died, so it's not a timeline reset.
I'm surprised there aren't more clever implementations of, like, you die in a game, and it's a grisly death, and then there's a freeze frame and a quick rewind, and then the camera, like, zooms back around to the main character's face, and he's like, no, I shouldn't do it like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like there was that Prince of Persia game where you don't die. Remember this? Had Nolan North voicing the prince. It was actually a somewhat interesting video game that it's impossible to play on modern hardware. Wait, maybe you can play the Xbox 360 version on the newer Xbox. I'm not sure. Though in that game, you couldn't die, and the gamers were up in arms.
Was that Sands of Time?
No, it was
it's just called Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it was, they made a whole trilogy of games, which, we, by which I mean hardcore gamers, we liked to make fun of the second of those Prince of Persia games. However, I recently replayed all 3 of them all the way, and I've got to say, those are good games. Even the bad one is pretty good, which kind of just shows to go you what the slim pickings are these days, So it's that Prince of Persia, you died. Gamers were up in arms that your character didn't, there weren't lives, I remember they were just mercifully escaped the beginning rumblings of Twitter when negativity got it's a negativity amplification machine. They didn't have such convenient negativity amplification back then. However, the gamers complained quite hard, even without such sinister devices at their fingertips. Though that game was really kind of bland. If you fell off a ledge, you just saw like the girl character who had magic. You saw like her hand in a close-up, and then she like grabbed your hand and saved you. But it's like there was no narrative sense to it. It's like they tried to explain it. And I remember playing that game and thinking, they should just rewind, show his face, and have him say, "Oh, I shouldn't do that," And they really, really messed up by not doing that. And the gamers would have loved that.
I can think of a game that does that.
Oh, yeah? Let's hear it.
The ending segment of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the graphic adventure, or whatever it's called. There's an action and an adventure one.
Mm-hmm.
The point-and-click one. The trials leading up to, finding the Cup of the Carpenter or whatever.
The Breath of God.
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it plays out in the game, but that is the only section of this game where you can quote unquote die. He'll fall through the cracks on stepping on the wrong letter or whatever.
Yeah, because in Latin Jehovah starts with an I, as we all know.
Exactly.
See, I would have actually just known that.
Well, because you watched the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the joke. Yeah. I would have just known that if I were him.
It's like how we all totally knew that you can't read in dreams before that Batman episode.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God, don't get me started.
But
man.
after you quote unquote die, it kind of rewinds to before you did that, and he says something smart, like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't do it that way." So
that's really good.
That has been done. Yeah.
I feel like if a modern AAA video game were to do that, it would be a disaster because no one would ever settle for less.
Oh, and actually, wait, I thought of another LucasArts example, which is Monkey Island 2. It's introduced as Guybrush telling the story of what had happened at the end of the game. That's the start of the game to Elaine Marley.
Mm-hmm.
And there are sections where you die, and then it goes back to him telling the story, and she's like, "What are you talking about? You're not dead." And he's like, "Oh, right, sorry." And then it
that's
goes
very
back
good.
to the game. Yeah.
Okay, so only those sorts of clever people that make the sorts of video games that
Only Ron Gilbert specifically.
Yeah, only clever people who make the clever sorts of video games that certain people will play at formative moments in their life and then never stop telling everyone else to play, to a point where they make it so that many of their friends will just never play those games because they're like, my buddy likes those so much, I feel like he's got it covered. So that's why that's never made it into the mainstream, the extremely canonized video game character death, because not enough people play those games because they're too good for everyone to play. I'm like, I know a guy who's played all those. I don't.
There's like two good ones.
Which ones are the good ones? If I had to play two of them, what are they?
From the old days.
Yeah, from the old days. I'm all about the old stuff these days.
Loom and the first Monkey Island.
Okay, I've never played that first Monkey Island.
Loom you will play through in like an hour and a half and have a beautiful experience.
Ooh, nice. I've never played the first Monkey Island. Do you want to know why? It's because you played it, yeah, and also because people keep asking me if I've played it. So they keep asking.
Okay,
and,
but real quick, if people are like, "Oh, I'm going to play Loom," because Frank said, don't get like the GOG version. You need to pirate the original 16-color EGA version. The other one is a remake painted over by other people and literally with dialogue cut so that they could fit it on the CD.
Oh, that's weird.
And not supervised by the creator of the game at all.
Would it be cool to play the 16-color EGA version of the game on my 77-inch OLED TV?
It would. Make sure that you are doing the MT32 sound card as well. That's the master audio version of it.
I'll get it all set up.
Call me if you need help. I'll tell you how to play the correct Loom. The correct Loom starts with a black screen, and it plays Swan Lake for like 2 minutes, and you can't do anything.
I love Swan Lake.
Who doesn't love Swan Lake?
It's just like, sit here and listen to this, and as soon as the song climaxes, the title screen just comes out of nowhere. It's really cool.
Oh, wow, I love it.
When you die in Loom, does the guy go, wow, that wouldn't have been good? Does he do that? because that's actually my prerequisite. I shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea.
I don't believe there are death scenarios, unfortunately.
Oh, that's even better.
What video game should get a new remake every year?
Crikey.
Every year?
Every year.
I just think let's forget about remakes for a minute, and let's just say I'm perfectly fine with Nintendo charging me $5 every year for Super Mario Brothers 1. I just think that's a real funny idea. They did it so many times in rapid succession that it's still funny to me. And I just think it's what we goddamn deserve, you know?
It's too beautiful to stop paying for it.
It's very funny. Yeah, it's just such a good game. What video game should get a new remake every year?
Yeah.
I guess the joke is The Last of Us. Is that the joke that everybody wants to hear? Is that we should have a remake of The Last of Us?
That's the joke.
That's where this spawned from.
There was a remake of the game in this year, and there's a remake of the game as a TV show in like 2 weeks, right? So it's like, what's the 2022 and 2023 are covered for The Last of Us. So 2024 stage play. They're gonna make a Broadway
stage play or movie. You could do a movie as well.
Oh God, yeah, they're gonna do it. Then 2025 cinematic universe.
Do it in VR after that.
Yeah, I think the stuff is VR.
A narrative podcast.
Yeah, The Last of Us, but the "of" is spelled O-V, and the "us" is there's inexplicably a Toys R Us R.
The Last of Us.
The Last of, and then there's a Toys R, The Last of R Us, so that it's a V and an R. Yeah, The Last of Ours. Yeah, exactly. Now, so there's a V and an R is the joke I'm trying to make.
I don't know if this counts, but I like that we remake sports games every year. I think you should do that. Yeah, I think just continue evolving that, right?
But that's like an update. I mean, is it? I don't know if it's a remake. Yeah, because the player stats all change, and there's like new outfits and stuff that everybody's wearing.
Okay, then I will say that I think every year a new studio should make the next Madden. Like, I think you should have to imagine from scratch what an NFL game is like every time, or not imagine from scratch. You know, you could play everything that's been done so far, but you know, I think there's so many subtleties to real life sports games that are impossible to completely capture in a video game that I want it to be reinterpreted every year.
I guess what is the boundary box of a remake? Like, if there's new music and new content, has it
we've defined this before. We've defined a remaster versus a remake on this show.
Yeah. But I don't remember how far we could get with changes.
You can make more changes with a remake than with a remaster.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then it should be Ridge Racer 6. Remake that every year. Give me a new car. Give me some new music, and then I'm good. But by that definition of remake, I think Frank is correct then that it's sports games.
And the every year is what stops me here, because I'm just thinking like this update to Fortnite with the whatever they're calling their lighting that's really beautiful. It's like there are new technological leaps every 2 years or so that are like worth revisiting a game for. But I don't know about every year.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool to have like a Boku no Natsuyasumi remake every year, and every year it's a new year 30 years in the past. It just keeps going one year forward 30 years ago.
Yeah, 1975, 1976, 1978.
Yeah.
1970, 72, 1981. They just like sort of like subtly shuffle it around. Could be good.
But then they'd have to stop in 2001 because of 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's summer of 2001, so 9/11 hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
okay.
and then the ending is the kid gets
Oh,
on
no.
a bus back to the East Coast. And then I met my real father at the World Trade Center. I arrived in New York on September 10th. It would just be horrible and sad.
Oh,
and
God.
it would probably get published by Annapurna. It would win a bunch of awards probably. Mm-hmm. David Cage would give it a standing ovation.
He'd never sit down again.
It would be good, I think.
Oh, come on. He only applauds his own games.
Oh, yeah.
He'd probably work on it at that point.
That god darn guy. I'm trying to think what game could use a remake every year. And And so we're talking about sports games, and sports games are remakes every year. They're sort of remakes.
A racing game is a good candidate because you can update cars, you can have new.
Yeah. I was going to say, you say Ridge Racer. I would say, you would have asked me this 15 years ago. I would have been very confident in saying Gran Turismo. Every Gran Turismo game is basically a remake of Gran Turismo, which is part of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
However, right now, I don't want a remake of Gran Turismo. I don't want a remake of Forza. I don't want a remake of Ridge Racer. I want them to make one game and just continually update it. The Fortnite model.
One perfect racing game.
I want them to just make one game and continually update it. Make me pay a $5 a month subscription fee, something like that, right? That's not bad, yeah. I don't think. That's, I believe, the future of video games. It'll happen in a couple of years, probably. There'll be something like that up and running. If not, the new Microsoft Forza Motorsport, the non-Horizon one that they're working on right now, seems like that it might be that sort of a model. I think that's a good idea. What do I know, though?
Here's our next topic.
Okay.
Every time we have a discussion about controllers, it inevitably gets to the topic of the Steel Battalion controller. So today I would like to ask us to design a second game for that controller.
A Steel Battalion, except it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious answer is just a Gundam game because you got a built-in audience then, and they're going to be really interested in flipping all those buttons and doing all that stuff. So a Gundam game would be good. But I think if indies were also allowed, you could do like a really complicated docking simulator where you're in space and you gotta hit all these little buttons and levers and things to try to dock with a space station, and there could be like a narrative about why you're having to do these things, and you subsequently having to then use your docking device to push that space station out of a orbital problem, and then whatever, and undock and redock, do all these things. There's stuff you could do, but yeah. The cool.
Steel Battalion controller itself does not necessarily scream giant robot. I mean, I guess it does to a certain type of giant robot fan, a certain type of real robot fan, I believe it would be. Though I think you could probably use something like that for a spaceship game.
Yeah. To me, it evokes cockpit.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like if you could make a way to have a way for it to like be represented AR style in a VR headset, such that it's like right in front of you in the AR, and you can see your hands on it, even with the VR headset on. Like you have to sit it on like a green tabletop or something. I don't think it has to be a green tabletop. I don't think the color of the tabletop matters. But it's like if you can have like little sensors on it, so that the headset knows where it is, and like you can see it in the VR in the cockpit of the thing. I think that's a nice place to start. Even though it is a nice looking piece of plastic in reality, in person. Have any of you all played Steel Battalion with the Steel Battalion controller?
No.
One time, didn't understand what I was doing.
We can play it right now at the Maid Museum if we go.
Yeah, we should go do it.
Interesting. I played it a couple times. I had a buddy who bought it. It's, you all perhaps know it's difficult as an adult to hang out with the person, right? You gotta have like excuses to hang out with people, really good ones. They say in your 30s it's real hard to hang out with friends. In your 40s it gets much worse. I was already, living in Tokyo as a way to really accelerate that sort of thing. And I knew people in their 20s who were already where I am right now, living in New York in my 40s. So it's, I somehow was immune, which was fun. Though, yeah, I knew a guy who got Steel Battalion, and he's like, "You want to come over and play it, dude?" And I'm like, I just, I've seen pictures of that controller online. I think I'm all right, But I did go over and play it a couple of times, and just barely got to the point where I felt like, oh yeah, this is cool.
Anyway, before the timer runs out, I kind of want an overcomplicated comedy game with this thing, right? Like, I kind of like your AR VR thing, and so
with the personality,
right? So like having, it looks like a mech controller. Fine, it doesn't have to be. So it could be like a factory or something that you're managing.
You're controlling, right? GLaDOS.
Sure, something like that, right? But
oh man, there's one of the buttons makes the cake real.
That's right.
Whoa!
That's the one under glass that you have to flip.
Yeah, that's the emergency one. Yeah.
The cake realizer button.
tie it into how it's made, the show, right? And like you have to like actually like make the chocolate bars or whatever.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's really
yeah.
awful, and it's the classic I Love Lucy chocolate episode, right, where they can't keep on top of what's coming out of the factory, and you're just constantly flipping switches and moving arms and stuff.
And so if you all think Frank's idea can't get any better, I got 2 words for you, Frank. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Justin Roiland, voice of Rick and Morty.
Whoa. So he just voiced a gun. Is he now voicing like a robot arm? Like, I don't know.
Whoa.
You should go over here.
Are you picking up the chocolates, Rick? What are you doing picking up the chocolates, Rick? You gotta get it in my mouth, Rick. And he's calling you Rick.
This controller feels a lot like Steel Battalion. Remember that game, Steel Battalion? This feels a lot like Steel Battalion to me.
Capcom really made a whole lot of really good games back on the Xbox, Rick. Calling himself Rick. That's my Rick and Morty impression.
You crazy for this one, Rick.
I think we found it. I think we found our factory game.
Yeah.
It's got to be VR though. It's got to be VR.
Well, it's got to be AR VR, like you said, because you got to be able to see the physical controller in front of you.
Yeah, and then your friends who walk in to see you play it, they get to enjoy the beauty of the plastic. Because it is a nice looking piece of plastic.
Well, it's like you have the headset on with your headphones, right? But like, there is speakers on the headphones that are just Justin Roiland's voice, so they get to be entertained by his voice, and you flopping around with the Steel Battalion controller.
Very good.
Your friend looks really stupid, right? Huh?
Yeah, just projecting it out.
I guess the answer to this is we got to get Bennett Foddy to make a Steel Battalion game.
Okay, so in the first place, I should say that I haven't played Steel Battalion, but I've looked at some photographs. I'm aware of what it is. It's basically a normal Xbox controller in that it has like 2 analog sticks. It has, I guess, 3 analog pedal axes instead of 2 triggers, and it has a throttle as well, right? So it's got a little bit of extra analog control, and it has just an absolute fuck ton of buttons, right? So when I look at a controller like that, there are basically 2 games that I see, and one of them is like to play the game that the controller was designed for. It's kind of in world for that game. The fiction of Steel Battalion is kind of embodied in the particular placement of all of the buttons and the arrangement of them, and the meaning of them and so on like that. Or you're going to be playing a game where the fun is in not knowing what the controls are, being confused about it, and by kind of experimenting with buttons, right? So like that's the kind of the other kind of fun. There's the fun of knowing and using an incredibly complicated interface, and then there's the fun of trying to use an interface that you don't understand, that you don't know. And I feel like if you're designing a second game for the controller, it's just got to be that, right? Like I could come up with some kind of weird thing where instead of doing a mech combat game, we try to turn it into like some kind of organic or human type of process where there's like a intentional juxtaposition of the control surface and the game. But I don't think that's the most interesting thing. I think the most interesting thing is to kind of like figure out how to maximize that sense of confusion, the sense of the alienness or the unfamiliarity of the interface. So here is what I would do. I would make another tank or mech combat game, but it would be multiplayer. And people love player customization screens, especially for multiplayer games. You spend hours and hours in that. If you play the newest Need for Speed, you definitely see like they're taking that to the ultimate extreme. You're expected probably to spend half of your time customizing the vinyls and decals and wraps and paint of your car. So this would be like, you already get that experience a little bit in Mech Warrior games. Any kind of mech combat game, usually the loadout is very complicated. But in this case, I would also allow you to customize the controls, right? So you would be assigning every single button on the controller, every axis. And the other tweak that I would do is to make it a kind of a game where some of the time you're going to be driving the tank, which has the controls that you laid out that you're really familiar with, and some of the time you're going to be trying to drive somebody else's tank. There's a game from 1976 by the Meadows Corporation called Laser Command, which is just like a really simple version of this. Is 2 players. You're on a map with something like 20 tanks, right? Got some of them are in your own base, some of them are scattered around the map, and you try to blow up the other person's tank. But if you blow up their tank, you also have to they kind of eject out of it, and they're running around, little man, and you have to try to run them over or shoot them. because they can get back into another tank. So there's kind of like a system where there's sort of like your lives in a sort of soft way, but I can also take your tanks out of your base and take them over. So it would be a little bit like this. So let me pitch you the what I would do with this controller. Basically, we spend, hours or whatever before we go online configuring a few, like maybe more than one, maybe like, let's say 3 or 4 different tank loadouts. And each one has its own special arrangement of controls. So you're using the sticks for movement and aiming, just like in original Steel Battalion, but maybe not. But definitely you're rearranging all of the buttons, what they all do. And we get dropped into a multiplayer map, which is where your 3 or 4 tanks are just in different locations on the map, right? Like maybe it's randomized, maybe not. But when I'm I'm fighting you, I'm trying to blow you up. I can choose to kind of blow up your unmanned tanks if I want as a target, or I can try to blow up the one that you're currently in. If I blow up your tank and you manage to eject, you're like a little guy in a jetpack. You can run and try to get into one of your other tanks. Or you can decide, like, maybe that's too difficult to get. Maybe you try to get into my tank, and then you can use my tank against me. But I've set up my own control system for the tanks. So, maybe I'll put the eject and self-destruct button where you expect the fire button to be. Or, maybe the dump fuel button. We can have a lot of different functions that might not be useful in a certain situation. And there'll be a meta between us as you start to kind of get used to where I put certain functions. And maybe I am aware that you've figured it out, and I kind of trick you by putting like a self-destruct button where you expect the fire button to be, that kind of thing. So on top of like a normal, like a Steel Battalion type multiplayer tank or mech combat game, we've got this kind of mind game of, like, first of all, trying to figure out how your opponent has laid out their tank controls and try to use it, but also trying to trick the other person when you're laying out the tank controls to kind of booby trap it and make it more difficult. I think that would be kind of amazing. That would be a kind of amazing take on the Steel Battalion controller.
Welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time, as we do every week, to go to the dirt bag. This is the point of the show where I take one of the questions submitted to us by the patrons at patreon.com/insertcredit, where for just $1 a month, you can get access to that form, get a feed with monthly bonus episodes, and other exclusive surprises. This week's question comes from Supum, who asks, what is the absolute minimum length a game has to be to no longer be considered short?
Interesting. I guess according to Valve, the answer is 2 hours, because that's the time past which you can't refund it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at least a metric that we can go by. So longer than 2 hours is like a financial definition of longer than short.
So I've recently played through a whole bunch of video games. This is what I do. I play video games all the time. I'm going to say I'm willing to call a game short if it is under 12 hours long. That's half of a calendar day. And it's like a short game. There's short games, and then there's like one sitting short games. I feel like there should be a more convenient term for it. There's games like a short hike that you play through in a single session, right? I feel like a short game can take me a week. If it's a week and I play it for 2 hours a day and I'm done with it, I think that's a short game.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard for me. I mean, it doesn't quite work for me because, like, if something's 12 hours, I could be like, oh yeah, it's a pretty short game. You can get into it, because I feel like in that context, I'm trying to like tell someone that this game that seems like it's really big is actually not that long. But I feel like that's not like really short. Like, short would be 2 or 3 hours. I could beat it in one sitting or two.
Well, like, I mean, Silent Hill 2 is under 12 hours. I don't consider that a short.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I consider like Metal Gear Solid 1 a short game.
Maybe if you play it after the first time, maybe, but I feel like the first time you play it, it doesn't feel that short.
I mean, it's economical, it's fast paced. So another thing I've been doing a lot of recently is going back through and watching a lot of 6-episode miniseries that are all the 6 episodes is like a real sweet length for a limited series, right? So maybe that's more like 6 hours. Is that the right length? It's like 6 hours for a miniseries. I figure a video game, double that, and you get the 12 hours. Maybe that's where I came up with that number. I'm not sure. I just think, when people start to have a conversation about games, when people mention a game as being short, when someone asks for recommendations of a short game, right? It never, like, okay, you'll see people on social media all the time be like, I don't know, I'm in the mood to play a short video game. What's a short video game? And the very first game that everybody mentions is A Short Hike. To this day, I saw this like 3 days ago. I don't know what happened today or yesterday or 2 days ago, though. 3 days ago, I saw a guy ask for recommendations of short games.
It's in the name, dude. It's right in the name.
Yeah, I know. It's very temptatious, I suppose, for people to just say A Short Hike. So it ends up getting recommended 100 sometimes. And I really liked A Short Hike. It was good. Though I feel like there's just so many video games out there, There's games like Berwick Saga that will eat up 300 hours of your life. There's games like Civilization, which you might plunk around a single session, the right parameters might take you just a couple hours to get through. Though, what kind of freak isn't going to play a Civilization game 100 times through, is not going to spend 100 some hours on it. Does that make it a short game that you just play a lot because it's different every time? I don't think so. There's just so many different types of video games, and there's so many AAA video games, and there's so many AAA video games that advertise their length that it's gotten now to a point where you will see people say, I really liked that new God of War because it was real nice and short. And it's like 20 hours long,
Yeah.
Like people are starving for shorter games out there. And meanwhile, there were people out there just talking tough in social media and comments about how they're going to boycott such and such game because it's less than 95 hours long or whatever. It's like, I'm not paying $69.99 for a game that's less than 100 hours long. And it's like, there's this weird sort of just a goddarn potpourri of mixed messages, as regards what's a short game, what's a long game, what's the right length. I really think price has something to do with it. So okay, let's refine this here. For a full price AAA video game that's $60, if I had to say what I think the best type of video game in the world is, are you ready? The best type of video game, for me personally, these days, is a 12-hour long $60 game. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm with you.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So we're looking at 5 DPH.
Yeah, if something is 25 hours long, or so. Okay, yeah. So for example, The Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us 1 is about 10 hours in length. I consider that a pretty short game. I think. I mean, I'm not saying that's my ideal video game. Though the length of it is pretty good. The remake is actually like much longer because the cutscenes are much slower and more violent, and there's more. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to make up a joke. The Last of Us 2 was like 25 hours long, and there was a lot of yelling about The Last of Us 2, saying it was way too long, which is really interesting given how we equate length with value. A lot of people equate length of game with value these days. So The Last of Us 2 had this weird conversation happening about it being too long, even though it's only 24 hours long. So that's weird to me simultaneously.
I feel like the discussion of length has actually gotten wrapped up in discussion of pacing accidentally, because I think that some games like perhaps Last of Us 2 feel too long because of pacing, and other games feel short because their onboarding is so quick. I think that a lot of the time when people are like, what's a short game I can play? They actually mean, what's a game where as soon as I start, I'm actually playing the game.
I'm playing a game.
Going
Yeah, I think that's definitely not part of it.
Yeah, and I think part of why, like, Elden Ring, nobody would say it's a short game, but I don't think people would complain about it being too long, because as soon as you start playing it, then you're playing it. So
Elden Ring also is a miraculous example of you don't need to come within 20% of beating it to get what I earnestly believe is your money's worth out of it, which is neat. That's kind of a lesser talked about byproduct of the quote unquote difficulty is you can feel like, yeah, I got my money's worth out of that game. Meanwhile, games like the modern open world games, especially the Sony brand ones, they all tend to have exactly 1 hour on ramps. I determined this with quite a ferocious amount of science. I've got it captured. I got multiple playthroughs from multiple people. It's more or less 1 hour to get through until you're in the open world, and you now have 3 missions to choose from. Usually 3 missions, right? Very, very unique to those games. It's very clearly that's the workshopping they're going for. The Last of Us Part 2 throws all of that out the window. And I honestly think, you want to talk about pacing. We could have a conversation some other time on what's good pacing versus bad pacing. Last of Us Part 2's pacing is phenomenal, but it's phenomenal for like a book. It's like not phenomenal for a modern video game. It is like 3 hours before you get to the beginning of the game. You're playing the whole time. You are playing. It is very clearly a game you are playing, and you are making, you're making moment to moment gameplay decisions and such. But it is very much 3 solid, straight, interactive hours of you're not even in the game yet. So I guess that's also part of it. I'd say 12 hours for a AAA game. And
are we all on board with that?
I like 12 hours, yeah.
Yeah, 10, 12.
I wanted to say 10 as well, but 12 works too.
I just like 12 because it's half of a calendar day.
Well, I think 12 is sort of ideal, right? But does that make it short, right? So I actually think 12 is the sweet spot, and I think 10 is like right on the border of like, it's too short.
The number that sticks out for me, if we're not talking about 60-hour games now, but the number that sticks out for me is 7 hours as like a short, digestible game, because I could conceivably beat it in a weekend if I was really liking it. So that's kind of my number, but I don't think you could get away with a 7-hour $60 video game
not for $60
at this point.
No, 7 hour $70 game. That's easy math for people to say that's $10 an hour.
There you go.
Yeah, 70. So it's taking into account, and I mean I've done a lot of. I'm not going to get into too much of the details here, though. I've done a lot of frame counting and taking into account the typical character movement speed, typical combat rhythm of a game that has guns in it. Resident Evil 8 is a really good game to look at if you want to look at a short, quote unquote, short video game pacing, like the combat rhythm, movement speed, the exact amount of backtracking and traversals. So it's I think Resident Evil 8, there you go. That's a good short, quote unquote, short video game if anybody needed one.
Man, those Resident Evils, I've been thinking about that recently, not to completely derail, but I'm doing it.
Hey, go for it.
I've been thinking about those games and why 4 and 5 are the only 2 that I've beaten, and I've beaten 4 multiple times, and the others I have not beaten. And I think for me, it is that the survival aspect, the fact, like the idea of zombies standing back up or you running out of ammo, is dramatically diminished in those games. They go in the action direction.
That's an understatement
so much,
there.
Obviously, yeah, for sure. And then all these remakes of the originals, which I do like more than the originals, actually. Like the remake of Resident Evil 2, I enjoyed a bit more. They all have like a Mr. X or some sort of a nemesis-like creature that is following you around, so you can never relax. You can never be like, okay, I cleared this area of enemies and now I can go around and explore. To me, that's what keeps me from finishing Resident Evil games. And but I guess for a lot of other people, that's what keeps them engaged with Resident Evil games. I'm curious about this because, Frank, I think that 4 is probably the only one you finished as well, right?
Right. It's also the only one I've ever purchased. So
interesting.
So it's not really a good amount of data for me.
There's some real, for any aspiring video game design the thinker about her. There's a whole lot of really neat stuff in Resident Evils 1, 2, and 3 that I hesitate to use the word unfortunately. It is unfortunately locked to those original versions.
They're very speedrunny in a way. They're like about route finding and redoing, and this time I'll try this and that kind of stuff, which is neat for me to think about.
I would advise you to find a buddy who has played them, and sit around, smoke some weed, or whatever, and have your buddy just kind of help you, coach you through it. And that's like a neat way to play Resident Evil. I had a buddy in Japan who was a big Resident Evil buff, and he just kind of coached me through a playthrough of 2 and 3. And I'd played all of them before, so having a buddy coach me through it was real fun.
It kind of seems to me that if the Resident Evil series wanted to open up a bit more, they could, with how well put together these things are at this point, they could have, like, I don't know, accessibility options where you can turn off Mr. X and turn off zombies coming back to life, and the game would still be very good, and then it would be playable by 2 different sets of person.
We're about 5 years out from accessibility options reaching their apex of power.
Yeah.
So everybody look forward to that. The whole play the game for me option is going to happen, and it's going to be beautiful.
We have a little bit of that in Hyper Gunsport.
Hey, you play this part.
It's already Twitch. Yeah. Here is our next question before the lightning round. What is the Whitney Houston's cover of Dolly Parton's I Will Always Love You for the soundtrack of the film The Bodyguard of video games?
So, somewhat more popular than the original.
Oh, it's a Gunsport.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's better than Dog Patch.
Dog Patch sucks.
And I guess Stadia is the bodyguard that you made it for.
That's right.
Oh, man, I just turned on my TV this morning, and my TV had popped a news update, which I really wish I could turn it off, because my TV should not be allowed to advertise me stuff.
About Gunsport?
Well, no, I'm getting there.
Oh.
And, it'll pop something like, get 3 free months of Apple TV Plus if you give us your email address.
No, I got the same exact pop-up. I know where this is going.
Yeah. So a pop-up that was like, Google Stadia is no longer supported by this television.
Okay, do you have an LG?
Yeah, LG C10.
Did you notice that they actually misspelled it and it was Stata?
Yeah, I saw that. I tried to take a pic of it. I scrambled from my phone, and then it was too late because they blink by so fast.
Google Stadia.
So it was just like, wow. I was like, wow, that's dark. They're just they just stepped on the hose. They just snipped the hose there.
Man, poor Stadia.
Was that also how you found out that your TV had a Stadia app?
Yes, it absolutely was.
Yep, same.
Dang.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a missed opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it really seems like there should have been an ad that's like, hey, you can play Assassin's... I don't know.
You can play lots and lots of 4K 60 video games on here, yeah.
Yeah, they had Assassin's Creed on there.
They had Assassin's Creed. They had Cyberpunk.
They had Cyberpunk. It was the best way to play Cyberpunk for a while.
I knew they had Assassin's Creed. I was just trying to think of like what would attract just a TV owner who doesn't have a game console to go, ooh.
Yeah, maybe Cyberpunk was the one.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've got the
news.
best way to play Cyberpunk right here, taking up my entire living room floor right now as I put it together.
It's just a frying pan to knock yourself out.
It's a lot bigger than the Google Stadia. It's my new PC that I'm putting some solid state drives in it.
Oh, nice.
The Stadia dev kit was pretty big.
Oh, was it? Well, that makes sense because I mean it's running on these nice computers owned by Googly.
Yeah.
Google can just say, yeah, we don't want to, this was fun for a couple minutes. And then some guy got a promotion, probably. It's probably what happened. 96 people got moved to other departments, and then one guy got his salary doubled. That's probably what happened with Stadia, right?
Yeah, it's too bad I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
I should have doubled my salary.
Would have been nice.
You weren't on the inside. You weren't a company luncher.
It's true.
You were just some insect outside the net, for better or for worse, right?
Lumpany cruncher.
Yeah, company lunchers, man.
So did Brandon make the I Will Always Love You a video game?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm Whitney Houston.
Well, okay, what other video game covers have there been, right?
Covers. Death Stranding, of course, for Super Mario
That's
Brothers.
actually just an interesting question in itself. I mean, this is just a really complicated way of asking about video game covers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a movie that popularized the song. If it weren't for the movie, there wouldn't have been the song. The original song didn't have a movie.
It's got to be a cover, not a clone or a hack or whatever.
Yeah, it's got its own flavor.
So a spiritual successor counts, right?
I'd say so.
Yeah. So pick the best Kickstarter thing, right? Like,
oh God, I love Kickstarter, dude. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night was not necessarily more popular than Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
No,
it was not. I was kind of going the other way. Still pretty okay though. I played that game right till the final boss.
You want to hear my story about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night? Here it is. It's very quick.
I do.
When I was talking about it, I was like, I don't like the name of that game. And Jason Schreier, a buddy of mine, was like, he was like, why not? And I'm like, it's so weak. And he's like, what's weak about it? And I said, I don't know. It just kind of, it feels like passive voice. And then he goes, it's not passive voice. And I was like, it feels like passive voice. And he's like, what does that mean? And then we just had a good lol about it. That's my story about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
You're saying that it should have been called Bloodstainer.
Bloodstainer. Yeah, something like that, right?
Who rituals the night?
That actually does sound better, yeah.
I mean, stained by blood would be passive voice. I know that. I'm a grammar guy, okay?
I think they should have taken the E out and it should have been Bloodstained with the band Stained.
Oh,
Should have
Yeah.
done the soundtrack. I think that would have been way better.
Or it could have just been Bloodstained with an apostrophe NT.
That's the British version.
My dog's here. Did you hear him?
Yeah, he's meowing
Hey,
away.
what do you want, buddy? What do you want? What do you want, buddy? I like my dog. He's so funny. He's hilarious. Bloodstained? Is that it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it's not the answer to that question, but it's a funny thing to say.
Bluebastained? Is that what they could have called it?
Bluebastank.
Oh wait, I know what it is.
Bluebastank.
It's Demon School.
Oh, there we go. It's Demon. It's another Brandon Sheffield game.
That's right.
You truly are the Whitney Houston of video games. We're going to our lightning round. It's time for us to play GameFAQ&As. Every video game on the website GameFAQs has a Q&A board where users of the website can submit their own questions about that game that are usually kind of short one-line questions with more details if you choose to open them. I don't choose to open them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some of these questions that people have asked on the Q&As board for a game on GameFAQs, and you're going to give me your answers to help these people. Accuracy does not count. Pithiness does. The game we are doing this week is Fortnite.
Okay, good one.
First question. Why is my ping going up?
That's because you're streaming movies at the same time, idiot.
That's because your penguin learned how to fly, is what I would say.
That's why your ping's going up. Yeah. Brandon?
I don't know what that means.
I was also searching for a penguin joke. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine was real bad, and I love it.
Question 2. Where's a good place to grind for experience and money?
Burger King.
The old mill. Because they'll be grinding.
Come on, mine was good. Burger King.
Yeah, yours is
Thank
good.
you.
All right. Question 3. How can I enjoy Fortnite and the content it has to offer without subscribing?
YouTube.
Yeah, Twitch.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
you're
Tyler Ninja Blevins. There you go.
there you go. What I want, Renegade Raider or I Will Hurt You?
I will hurt you.
What? What you want?
Well, is it a threat? Are they saying they want that first thing or they'll hurt me?
I don't
you
know.
Want, you want I will hurt you. That's what you want.
You know what? Yeah, that is
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah. The heart wants what it wants, you know?
Where is Sludgy Swamp Bunker?
It's on the Action
Florida.
Button Discord.
Both accurate. Yes.
Yeah.
How does this happen in boats?
Bouncily and with some seasickness.
Who or what summoned the Storm King?
Oh, that was me.
Cliffy B did. Cliffy B did.
Yeah,
Because he created Fortnite.
that's
Except
about
for
right.
like Cliffy B did.
I don't know. Is that true? I don't know. I don't care.
By transitive property. Where's my Hulk Smashers?
The kids' toy aisle at Target.
Yeah, I don't know if they still make them, though, so it might be more like a thrift store.
Your mom stuck them in the attic and won't let you have them until you brush your teeth.
Does anyone want to be my friend?
No.
You know what? I everybody needs a friend.
Yeah,
So
I think that
somebody
was-
does. The answer is somebody does.
Yeah, come on, Tim.
Yeah.
Come on. Someone wants
Yeah,
to.
Yeah.
surely someone wants to be his friend, or her friend, or their friend.
Here's something. Consider adopting a dog from your local shelter.
Yeah.
Or just consider doing a lot of work for people for free, and then they'll
Then they'll be your friend.
they'll be obligated to invite you to their wedding or whatever.
Our last question. Can someone help fix my brother's errors?
Well, I'm not your brother's keeper either, buddy. So that's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Try your mom or your dad or your sister.
Well, and there's a lot of really talented people, usually around the Hollywood area, who can fix your brother's errors.
Sure.
Oh yeah, very good.
Frank, I'm declaring you the winner of this week's episode. Congratulations,
All right.
Frank.
Cool.
Why not?
You can carry that burden to next week, but in the meantime...
Oh yeah, I won't be here next week. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll figure that out.
I'll be at MagFest.
Okay, we'll try to get somebody to substitute for you.
A whole festival for magazines?
Yeah, that just makes sense.
Weird.
I'd be there, right?
It does.
Yeah,
why
It's
not?
on brand.
Better than NAGFest.
It's time for us to do our recommendations. Does
Oh,
anyone
wait,
have
really
anything
quick.
they'd like to
So this isn't a recommendation, but last time we talked, I revealed to the show that I was playing Yakuza Kiwami.
Mhm.
Good show.
I'm
Good
still
game.
playing that. Still playing that. But
Yeah.
we also talked last time about the English dub of the first Yakuza. So I kind of got curious
it.
and looked into it. And I was so excited when I read that they cast Mark Hamill as Majima. I was like, yeah, the Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Of
I
course.
thought
that's
I
the voice
mentioned
you
that.
cast. And then
He did.
He's fantastic.
well, I don't agree. I looked up a video and it's like, wow, okay. It's like someone had the idea that we should cast the Joker. And then when it came to recording time, someone subdued him.
He didn't really commit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, he wasn't being Mark Hamill. Like I'm convinced that guy, if you let him cut loose, he becomes the Joker. Like someone was telling him, no, calm down, over and over, until he just gave a really, I thought, pretty flat performance.
Han Solo was in the room.
I also feel like he might not have understood the character very well, because I feel like it might not have been spelled out very well. And,
I agree, and like probably didn't like play him the Japanese voice or anything. Like someone had the right idea. Like I think there was a
Yeah.
miscommunication, is my point, right? Like I think someone actually went, yeah, cast the Joker, and someone got him, and then the voice directing came, and that person wasn't involved. Is kind of what it sounds like to me.
So if you, I mean, I'm not going to say play the actual game or whatever. If you get to the end of Yakuza Kiwami and it's your favorite game of all time,
Mhm.
then go ahead and play Yakuza on the PS2.
I probably yeah.
They are definitely in the original. Okay, so in Yakuza Kiwami, they have more orthodontically aligned it with the tone that the series gradually drifted into, right? They've taken the original game and they bent the tone to fit the new style, right? So the original Yakuza and Yakuza 2, Yakuza's 1 and 2 were written by Seishu Hase, a Japanese crime author who had written a bunch of crime fiction bestsellers, and it has a very decidedly different tone. It has more of a Yakuza movie tone, whereas the games later morphed into this incredible Japanese television drama tone, where it feels more like TV.
Wait, so is Kiwami the is this the I Will Always Love You?
I mean, it could
No,
be.
it might be. Yeah.
Could be. It is much more popular.
Different tone, different feel, much more popular.
Much more popular. Yeah.
But
yes.
it's by the same people, so
It is by the
that-
same
I think
people.
That kind of gets rid of the cover aspect.
There's some of the no, the writers are different. The writers are different. So
That's something.
it is no longer written by the original crime novelist who only
And
wrote
I guess
the
the
first two.
performers are different, so maybe
Very
maybe
interesting.
that does it.
So there's a reason that Mark Hamill is subdued in there. It's because they're going for a decidedly more like genuine, like cinematic feel. It's not supposed to feel like a cartoon. They didn't want it to feel like a cartoon. Well, how well they succeeded, to what end, and did they, philosophically, what really happened there? I don't know, but it's got a sort of a tone and a texture of its own. It's not necessarily the best thing ever, but it's interesting that he's in there, and it's another Mark Hamill performance that is slightly different. The guy has some range.
He does.
From Luke Skywalker to Joker, and Majima's somewhere a little toward the Joker side.
Yeah, maybe he was watching Battles Without Honor and Humanity and was trying to evoke that instead of getting into the more over the topness.
I wouldn't have put it past him to have seen some of those movies. He's probably seen a whole bunch of them.
I think he might be kind of cool.
I'm pretty sure he
Possible.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, just gonna throw that out there.
Recommendations?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got?
I'll do a couple. I came across the song called "She's Bad" by ICJ.
It's true.
That's Jaye, and it's cool. There's a specific mix of it that I can't find, but you'll still get the idea if you listen to it. It's very, very Jet Set Radio, way before Jet Set Radio. It sounds so much like that if you're into that kind of music and want to hear that from someone who's not a big weirdo, check that one out. So that's a good song. Check that out. Here's an anti-recommendation. If you are if you enjoy the Star Warses, specifically Deep Space Nine. Do not watch
Star Trek.
The Star Trek. My brain. Yeah, Star Trek. Don't watch the Deep Space Nine documentary, What We Left Behind, because have you seen this? Any of you? No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, it's a documentary about the making of Deep Space Nine. The first 15 minutes are about how nobody liked the show and how everyone's so upset about it.
What?
First of all, that was not my experience, and second of all, it's like this is a movie for the people who liked it. So, like, we don't need to spend 15 minutes complaining about how nobody likes the show.
What? I've never seen. I mean, I've seen a little bit of Deep Space Nine, but I've never like sat down to watch it. You know, and my experience with anyone who has watched that show is that they love it and maybe even like it more than Next Generation. So I've never heard anyone say they specifically dislike Deep Space Nine.
Apparently in the 90s, the press thought it wasn't as good as Next Generation, and that's what they reacted to for 15 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So that was weird. Avery Brooks, not really in it. They grabbed some footage of him from somewhere else, which doesn't really do it. They're like trying to build like what would if there were a sixth season of the show, what would the first episode be? And they basically just like roll in all the stuff that I don't like about the show. And they're like, yeah, we got to start it in the bar with Vic Fontaine, and it's going to be about religion, and it's going to be about all these issues. And it's like, man, chill out. Don't do any of that stuff. Anyway, but the when I stopped watching it is when they were talking about how Kira, who's like she's a major there, the leftover from the occupation, they were like, she was a terrorist, technically. And that was so daring to do on TV. And then they have a whole segment where they're like, yeah, we couldn't have done that after 9/11. Like, who is this for? What 80-year-old grandpa?
Sounds like it's for the people who made it.
That is exactly who it's for. It was only for the people that made it. Anyway, so don't watch that if you like that show. But do watch the movie Wormwood Road of the Dead, which is an Ozploitation, like zombie apocalypse-y kind of thing that just keeps moving along, keeps changing protagonists, has a lot of really goofy, over-the-top stuff. It's like the kind of movie that doesn't really get made anymore. It was about almost 10 years ago at this point, but it's a movie that really has that kind of movement and arc and keeps trying to surprise you or throw something new in there. And it's the kind of movie that people wish got made a lot these days and just doesn't get made anymore. So give that a look. Wormwood. Road of the Dead. That's what I have.
Any last thoughts?
Like before I die?
Yes, we're all dead at the end of this show.
Probably regret.
I've got no regrets. Well, I have a few, but then again, too few to mention. Here are some recommendations I have. I would like it if you went to the insert credit page on iTunes and you rated and reviewed it for us. We're getting a lot of nice reviews. I'd like to see some more. It helps out the show and it helps me out when the skies are cloudy and gray. You can also go to patreon.com/insertcredit, where you could become a patron to submit your own topics, listen to monthly bonus episodes, and get other exclusive stuff. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com or look for Insert Credit on YouTube. This show is edited by Esper Quinn, with original music by Kurt Feldman. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Cifaldi.
I'm Tim Rogers.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And you may now deploy the Cake Realizer.
Oh god, the Cake Realizer, dude. That's a good one. Love it.
Yeah.
Press the button to make the cake real.